Year after year, Microsoft's Summer of Arcade produces at least one must-have downloadable game. It started with Braid, then Shadow Complex, Limbo, Bastion, and now Dust, an Elysian Tale. Designed and developed almost entirely by one person, this colourful action RPG also captures the enduring spirit of the digital platform. It marries retro concepts with modern production values to create something that both echoes and responds to the classics of days gone by. But you might not notice this at first. On the surface, the story and characters of an Elysian Tale are familiar and cliched. You play as Dust, a mysterious cartoon hero who, oh yes, has amnesia and doesn't know who he is.
Strange. Where did I learn these skills?
He's lost in the wilderness until he encounters, that's right, a talking sword of destiny and its adorable flying companion. They journey together across a fantastic world where the citizens are threatened by hordes of monsters who may or may not actually be evil, and Dust learns that his past might be something he'd rather not know about. So it's the plot of 1,000 RPGs from Final Fantasy to The Legend of Zelda. But there's something about how these tropes are presented in an Elysian Tale that makes them okay. After a while, its sharp humour and solid voice acting is actually charming, and by the end, its well-paced and varied narrative becomes one of the best stories we've played through all year.
I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of the things in the dark.
What's really great about an Elysian Tale is how it delivers the story and character of an RPG with the arcade combat of an action game. Back in the 90s, this was called an action RPG, but it's a genre we don't see too much of now, especially in side-scrolling 2D. The game deftly balances and paces both sides of its genre, satisfying in ways that other similar games, such as Outland, failed to do. The combat system is both intuitive and rich. You start out with a basic combo of sword swings, but soon you'll be juggling your enemies in midair, shooting off projectiles, and pulling off devastating grab attacks to rack up points. The most important part of your moveset is the Dust Storm, where your sword becomes a whirling vortex that sucks up enemies with rapid strikes, rockets dust into the air, and attracts projectiles and explosives. It's extremely empowering and impressive to watch, but still vulnerable and limited, demanding regular restraint. The interesting thing about the Dust Storm is how it's not limited by its own meter, but by a threshold beyond which it begins to deplete your own health. As the game becomes more challenging, this simple mechanic gives the combat a more strategic and even emotional quality that's lacking in your standard button masher.
I don't care what your name is. You're no different than those monsters I fought before. And like them, you will fall to my blade.
It's the sort of design choice developer Dean Dodrell makes all the time, which is surprising given the staunchly traditional stats and meter style of RPG he's building. This is a game with all the dialogue trees and crafting options you'd expect from the genre, a game where you grind enemies to level up, save your gold to buy health items, and accept dozens of side quests from the folks you meet in villages. There's nothing really new added to this part of the formula, but it's done to a high standard and reminiscent of the best RPGs ever made. Like so many of those, Dust features an open world with plenty of secrets to go back and discover. As you gain new abilities and take on new quests, you'll return to areas and take new paths. Again, it's not breaking any ground, but this old gameplay combination of empowerment, options, and freedom is just as entertaining as it ever was. Dust, an Elysian Tale, is exactly the sort of game we hope for from the Summer of Arcade. It's a stylish, polished throwback made with considerable heart and understanding of the genres it's working with. It doesn't push many boundaries, but as mostly the product of one man's work, it's an achievement in independent game design nevertheless. It joins Journey and Fez as a downloadable game in 2012 that's better made and more deserving of your time than the majority of AAA titles. If you only download one new Xbox Live Arcade game this summer, make it this one.
It feels good. Great even.
As it should, Dust.